What's up, party people? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. I've got a really interesting guest. I had a call with him last week and just blown away. Can't get his business out of my head. Chris is a serial entrepreneur. Over the last 4 years, he started a company called Oasis Amenities, among others. He creates communities people love to enjoy. He's a master planner. He's creating not just places to live, but places to make memories. His company builds unlimited size clear springs. So imagine like beautiful see-through crystal blue water that essentially bring beachfront properties inland, and essentially the technology behind filtering them. With that said, I'm going to bring on Chris. Hey, Chris, what's up, man?
Sonny, good to see you.
How you doing? Where are you calling in from? You're in Florida, right?
I'm in Tampa, Florida. Sunny Tampa,
Right.
Florida. So it's fun this time of year. Pretty hot.
I got a question for you. Can you do a screen share and can you show what you showed me that day? I mean, just to kind of, begin with the end in mind. I mean, wouldn't it be cool to just show people what you showed me? Because that's the piece that's been like lodged in living in my brain rent free over the last week. So I thought, hey, let's do the same thing. But and as you're maybe pulling that up, maybe tell us a little bit about what is Oasis Amenities and why should people care about what you're building?
Yeah. So Oasis Amenities is basically a design firm specializing in building thoughtful communities around the United States. Projects West Coast, Texas, Oklahoma, Denver, and then all the way over to the East Coast in Georgia, Florida, Alabama, and really we look at creating thoughtful amenities where families can enjoy and homeowners can utilize, but then specializing in this Oasis Spring concept where it's basically, as you mentioned, these crystal clear bodies of water and creating this massive safe beach area in the United States that people can enjoy right in their own home. So it's an amenity like no other. It's pretty cool. I'll share one of them here. I can. Not sure how to share. There we go. Let me see.
Now we can keep moving on. Maybe when you pull it up, we can keep going. But maybe as you're pulling it up, I'll maybe ask you the first question. So I guess like when you walked in, Oasis was still closer to a concept, right, than a market competitive company. Like what did that actually look like kind of day to day?
No, you're exactly right. So when I came into Oasis, it was the great idea and the gentleman that came together to put it together originally. It was a great thought. They brought me in to kind of expand it and blow it up, and it's evolved dramatically ever since. But it was really a collection a gentleman put together to help try to alleviate some of the concerns about building these things, operating them, engineering them, designing them, and kind of getting all the experts together to come in to make it what it is. And then again, as I mentioned, that's really evolved into taking my development background to not only look at just springs, but Oasis to look at the whole broad breadth of just projects in general and doing thoughtful communities and entry features and, creating spots where people want to live, whether it be a spring, whether it be, a pool, a clubhouse, a play set, whatever it is, but elevating that experience where you live, where you would vacation,
Man, I just want to be there right now.
I tell you, it's rewarding when you get there and you see families, spend time out there and
it's kind of funny though, because like I don't even know where that, I guess I just read it now, but I didn't even know where that picture was. But just again, it's the blue crystal water and just the setup that I'm sure gets most people. So that's awesome, man. I'm loving it. So can you started negotiating deals at like the age of 22 with people like Steve Wynn and Richard Lefrak. What did being that young in a room like that, teach you, Chris?
Yeah, I think this is kind of the theme in my entire life, is that age is a number. I was with a previous firm that has technology that's a competitor now, and helped them build what they had and work with some amazing clients. And they put me in a position where I was meeting a lot of top tier individuals: Joe Lewis, Richard Lefrak, Jeffrey Sofer, Steve Wynn, and some of these individuals that are worth billions, and being able to negotiate with them, and understand the tendencies and how they think. And I'll never forget a call with Steve Wynn and his team, and I was talking and we were negotiating, and he cut me off and asked me, how old are you? You sound like you're 35 or something. I think I was 27 or 28. I said, yeah, that's about right, or something like that. You sound like you're young. How old are you? I said, I'm mid 30s. But it was just, I think, the experience to be able to negotiate with someone who's a billionaire and how he thinks and what's important to him and what's not, I think was extreme, because things that I thought were important when I entered that call with his team, and he has a plethora of attorneys and staff that are paid the big bucks, and to sit there and negotiate with them and understand the things that were important to them and then important to me, and how to pull those levers, I think was a huge task and skill to learn early on in my career. And then that kind of parlayed into what I did next, right? So Joe Lewis was an example, the owner of Tavistock, spending time with him and his executive team, and then ended up leaving and working with them, and spent 4.5 years up in Boston with that firm, and they do great developments. But that kind of parlayed my experience then coming back into the Lagoon world. And as I showed you, Murata, we had a part in that, not the technology, but the rest of the project, and then spinning off to doing our own technology, and now opening up our first spring Sierra down here in Tampa, in Parrish, Florida, in the next few weeks. It's very exciting.
That's awesome. And then Chris, you grew up in a real estate development family, right? Like
Yeah.
how much of what you do today did you absorb before, you ever like had a job title?
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, I think, some people as kids want to be athletes or doctors or firemen. And I think from my perspective, when I was a kid, there was no other option for me. It was, I want to be a developer. I have 3 older siblings that are awesome, and they did not go this path, but both of my parents were developers. And I saw them work from top to bottom, whether it be, managing and leasing and selling, to developing, building, lending, to operating back end. I mean, just top to bottom. And those two people, my parents are the best, my best friends, and the most amazing people in the world. And I was able to learn from them how they operate, what they do, the risk they take, when they push a button, timing is everything, all those things. And I think it shaped me as who I was as a person, my work ethic. And for me, it was like, there's no other option. I was going to be in development. And also, something to add to that was a big thing for me was that, they never missed a game, a concert, an event. And I looked at that and said, that's what's important to me, as being a family man, and providing. And so I took those lessons learned and spun that to what I have today. And it's been fun.
You studied finance and sports management, right? At UMass Amherst. Then you got your MBA at Babson. What did that combination actually show up in how you approach the amenities business?
Good question. Yeah, UMass was awesome. Enjoyed my time there. Learned a lot in the financial world, and understanding how to run models and understanding how to look at deals. Had some great colleagues there, that cohorts, I guess you want to call them, that taught me a lot as they were doing things, and being IBs, investment bankers. Sports was fun. I think that it was one of the first schools that had the program, so I figured, why not? I also minored in psychology. I thought that was a good trait to learn. And then at Babson really was where I felt like I got the education that I utilize every day. It's very entrepreneurial. They've won that 20 years in running, the top entrepreneurial college in the United States. And that's kind of what shaped and molded what I look at today. Because looking at anytime you build a business, right, it's very entrepreneurial. You got to take some risk. You got to understand what you're getting into. You got to, drive, and have a work ethic that is unparalleled. And you learn that at Babson. You learn how to think outside the box. And that's what we do with amenities every day. We think outside the box. How do we get something that's creative, that's unique, that people look at and go, I want to be there? So I think Babson really shaped my thinking to be an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. And then I guess, what's the biggest thing that wait, so after Babson, what was your first big role? Was that Crystal Lagoons, right?
Yeah,
You led the US East Division and work with master planned community developers all over the world. So what's the biggest thing that job taught you about, what developers actually want?
And that was the job that I was working with Steve Winrich of the Frac Jeffrey So for.
Ah,
That was
got it.
if you saw the Murata, that was their technology that we were part of designing and building, and then they are considered a competitor nowadays to us. But that firm was an amazing firm, very talented owner, very talented individuals that work there. I love my time there, learned a lot, and that really gave me the platform to run. So forever grateful for them and what they did, and it was they created something really cool. He shook up the industry and how we look at amenities. So
And then just to move forward, so what made you say yes to Oasis Amenities in 2022, like taking on the president, CEO, and management partner all at once?
yeah, good question. I'd gotten calls over years when I left the lagoon business and go back into development, which was my passion. Um, and groups like Carnival Cruise Line. We had a couple other orgs that I can't name, but some big blue chip companies were calling, and I think that really made me think like, okay, once you've created a niche and you've been a part of a market and people recognize you for that, it's makes no sense to walk away from it. So what I did was said, okay, let's join Oasis, let's run with this, let's help do some really creative amenities and do some lagoons, some springs in the U.S. But also let's do this and build this while we're creating this Souza development company where this is going to be driving some developments that I do personally and build communities while we're still helping other projects along. So yeah.
And when you walked in, Oasis was still closer to, like I said, a concept, right, than a market competitive company. So what did that actually look like day to day, and how did you build such a fantastic company?
Yeah. I think we had three individual owners that were just extremely talented and extremely smart individuals. They've been very successful in their market, and I think that this was the thought process from their head. I believe was Chris has been in this market and he knows he's blown it up. He knows how to do it again to start from scratch, because he knows the people. Right there was just a knowledge of you have the connections, and I think they were on the
Right.
precipice of that blowing up, but didn't have the connections outside of Florida. And I think that's kind of what we put some gasoline on the fire and blew it up and became that. And that's kind of what helped Oasis, do what we did today and blow up to be a kind of a household name in real estate development.
And then you guys quadrupled revenue in your first year. So if you had to point to one single lever that mattered most, like what was it?
I think it's our clients trusting us. As we talk about knowing the market and having friends in the industry, it wasn't like there was a playbook on how to build a business or do this. It's genuine just to pick up the phone, call someone you trust and sit down and talk to them. And we had a few individuals that picked up and said, yes, we trust you, we'll commit to you, and we appreciate that. And that was huge. I think when you say you're going to do something and you do it and deliver good work, people come back and they keep working with you, and that's key. Once you give them your word, if you exceed expectations, then you're golden. If you say something and then you do less, you're in trouble. So
And then you grew the team by something like 8 people in that same year, right? So I guess while the culture was still kind of being built up, so what were you actually hiring for back then?
yeah, so I a lot of designers. We had one individual in particular, Justin Ridema, joined us. He took a gamble on us. It's tough when you're starting a company and you said from concept, and you need smart people and talented people to join you, but there's a risk there, right, for them. So we had some amazing people join, and hired Angela to run our finances, hired Justin to run our design, and then kind of grew from there. And they were the executive team, and then hired more designers and some business development people, some project coordinators, and hired some really talented individuals to come in and help grow the business. So yes, we grew. I think as you mentioned, 7 or 8 or the first year, 12 months rolling, and have continued to do that and hold steady and grow, and it's been good.
You've yeah, that's really impressive, Chris. You also said that there's no greater superpower than creating incredible bonds with incredible people, right? So I guess servant leadership isn't the language most people expect, right, from like a design, build, and construction business. Why does it work here?
Well, okay, That's a good question. It leads kind of into the broader scope of what we created here. Was that I think when you look at anything in life, but especially in real estate, you have a lot of disciplines that work on a project. So you have 20, 25 people that are on a project: engineer, structural, electrical, MEP, LA, architects, and they all come together to form what you see a neighborhood, what you expect. And with that, you get a lot of personalities and a lot of, I don't want to say finger pointing, but for lack of a better term, finger pointing, right? A lot of, well, he said you could do this. Well, she said it costs this. And then there's a lot of like, he said, she said. So with Oasis, we kind of created this kind of design build, front where it's like, we'll run everything under our umbrella. We'll manage it. We'll make sure we deliver you a full package. So for developers, they go, great. I don't have to have 2 people full-time staff to manage my sub-consultants. I just got to manage one person. And that kind of spurred, that's that entrepreneurial thought where we have this, right? But then over the years, we had clients ask us, hey, we'd like a signage, we'd like interior design, we'd like some things that we didn't have in-house. And I was passing them off to referrals that I knew. Well, I was getting feedback from some of these clients that, hey, they didn't do a great job in delivering, and one thing led to another. And I said, why don't we just create the other companies that fill in those holes? Enter Alder Strategic, enter Souza Development. So we created this horizontal growth where the disciplines that are in a project, we've kind of created soup to nuts, and we've hired the experts. Every person, you're good at this, and you're good at these 2 things, and you're good at these 3 things, and you pull them all together, and now you've created 3 organizations that can do top to bottom. And that's that entrepreneurial spirit of like, I can either pass you off to some other company, or I can take the business, keep it in, do it well, and hire the right person. And that's the approach that we take.
That's awesome. Hey, Chris, I'd like a whole bunch of more questions lined up. We should do like a part 2 if you're up for it, maybe in the next couple of weeks. But where do people learn more about you and the company, and help me land the plane?
I love it. No, I appreciate it. I think that I appreciate your time on the show, Sonny. You do a great job, and I think if there's one piece of advice I can give, it's always stay above reproach. That saying was given to me by my parents, and I think that that's the most important thing in life, is staying above reproach, is always doing the right thing when people are watching and people aren't watching. I think that's very important, and trusting in your team, and I appreciate your time, and looking forward to catching up soon.
You've got a great story, Chris. Very inspiring. So hang out, Chris, for 1 minute. I'm going to bring this to an end. I'll be back in a few minutes with another stream, people. So thank you all. I really appreciate everyone listening live here.
Thank you.